All right. Good morning, everybody. Back again. Well, it's been a while since I made a video about our old friend, Eddie Hearn. And I've made several Eddie Hearn rant videos in the past. And I have nothing personal against Eddie Hearn, obviously, but I'm very critical at some of the things he says and why he says some of the things he says. And if at all it's beneficial to getting things done in the sport of boxing, whether or not it's beneficial, whether or not it's a positive thing, whether or not a positive outcome can happen as a result of Eddie Hearn's words and his actions. I know, words are words or whatever, but when you burn bridges and you create friction between other people in the sport of boxing, in my opinion, it's just not a good look. I'm not saying you have to go out there and kiss everybody's ass if you're in the business of boxing, but it does behoove you to have a good working relationship with other prominent people in the sport. And it makes no sense to continue to just overly criticize to the point where it sounds like you're being a hater, where you're being negative. And this is the hypocrisy with Eddie Hearn, always telling people, oh, well, why do people hate on me? Why do people root against me? Why do people root against Anthony Joshua? Why do people have to come out and say negative things about me and tweet and basically pray for my downfall, pray for Anthony Joshua's downfall and other fighters' downfalls in the matchroom stable? But Eddie Hearn, like I said, the hypocrisy is real, because all these things that he criticizes other people for doing, he does himself. So it's basically like a projection. He's projecting his own feelings and his own opinions when he says these things, because he's the one that actually does that. I'm not saying other people don't do that to him, but he's the one, in my opinion, that initiates a lot of it because of the bullshit that he puts out there. And he's always in front of the camera, and he's always being interviewed, and he's always being quoted in articles because he keeps feeding us with this bullshit, and he's giving us the ammunition to use against him. Not that I'm sitting here plotting against Eddie Hearn and looking to take shots at him at every turn, but it's almost impossible not to come out and make these videos and criticize Eddie Hearn, because it's frustrating that the things that don't work, the things that have been a detriment in getting a lot of these fights made, he continues to do the same types of practices and says the same type of things that, in my opinion, just create friction, roadblocks, and just muddy the waters and create problems between him and other promoters and other people in the business. So let's get to the point at hand here. I know I'm kind of rambling here a little bit, but let's get to the point at hand. I know you guys are saying, Beef, shut up, let's go. What are you talking about here? Well, here's an article that I read this morning in my Google News feed, because I check my Google News feed every morning, and I get these stories from Google mostly, as many of the rest of you do. But it says Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn trade words over Canelo Alvarez. So here it says in the article, and I got this link in the description box for the article if you guys want to go back and read it yourselves, so you know I'm not just blowing smoke here. It says promoter Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn had some words over social media regarding Mexican superstar Saul Canelo Alvarez. Both De La Hoya and Hearn have exclusive content deals with the streaming service DAZN, as everyone knows. That's pretty obvious. Everyone knows that. Hearn, who promotes WBO middleweight champion Demetrius Andrade and WBO super middleweight champion Callum Smith, has been pressuring Canelo to fight one of his boxers, specifically Andrade, who dominated Maciek Suleski over 12 rounds Saturday night. So De La Hoya, through his promotional company Golden Boy, promotes Canelo. Okay, we already know all that stuff. So some have heard statements regarding Canelo's future and Golden Boy's ability to get the deal done for a trilogy with Gennady Golovkin appears to have annoyed De La Hoya, who basically told Hearn to mind his own business. He says, Eddie, let me worry about Canelo and his next opponent, which doesn't involve you. You worry about securing the rematch for Joshua with Ruiz for DAZN, which I hear you are having problems with, De La Hoya stated. So Hearn hits back and says, he says, promising that he will finalize the Joshua Ruiz rematch before De La Hoya gets a deal done for a trilogy between Canelo and Golovkin. He says, friendly bet my fight gets made before yours, Hearn stated. And Hearn and De La Hoya have done some business in recent months. In his two most recent fights, Canelo defeated two Hearn promoted boxers, Daniel Jacobs and Rocky Fielder. So let's get to the crux of the matter here. So everyone knows that Eddie Hearn is a partner with DAZN, just as Oscar De La Hoya is a partner with DAZN. But it seems as though DAZN counsels Eddie Hearn a lot when they're getting these deals done. And apparently, he says that he had some involvement in getting the Canelo deal done, as well as getting the Golovkin deal done. And Oscar De La Hoya kind of dismissed Hearn's involvement, and I guess he wasn't even in the room when the negotiations for that deal with DAZN between Canelo were taking place. But apparently, admittedly, Tom Loeffler said that for Golovkin's deal, Eddie Hearn was there. He was involved, not directly involved, but he was there helping out, making suggestions and this and that, and trying to get the deal done. So Golovkin's team has admitted that Eddie Hearn has been involved in getting that deal done to some degree, whereas Oscar De La Hoya dismisses it. So Eddie Hearn obviously cares about DAZN and wants DAZN to make the biggest fights because he wants DAZN to become bigger. And I guess he has a role in that. He has some type of consulting role with DAZN. A lot of these fights that get made, DAZN does consult Eddie Hearn, ask for his opinion, and he does have some type of involvement. Whether or not it's a significant involvement or not, it's pretty clear that Eddie Hearn and DAZN have a great working relationship, and they respect Eddie Hearn, and they do run things by Eddie Hearn and ask his opinion for things in regards to getting these deals done, making these fights. And I guess Golovkin himself had said some things about Eddie Hearn that he actually did talk with Eddie Hearn, and he was part of it, helping this deal get done for him and DAZN. So we already know that Eddie Hearn has a vested interest in what DAZN does. He's concerned about DAZN making the biggest fights possible because it makes the platform bigger, which in turn enables him to be part of an entity that is growing and becoming big, and it only enhances his brand by DAZN doing well. So I get that. But here's the thing. Why is Eddie Hearn always taking shots at other people? He's always criticizing other promoters, criticizing other fighters, criticizing other shows, and then he turns around and plays the victim, saying, "What everyone does that to him. Why do people root against me?" Well, why do you care so much about what Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo were doing? I understand, again, not to sound hypocritical, that you want DAZN to put on the biggest fights because it only enhances the brand and it only helps you in the long run. I get all that. But why be negative about it? Why not just be patient like everyone else and wait and see what happens next before you come out and jump the gun and start throwing rocks at Canelo Alvarez and Oscar De La Hoya, criticizing them? Because at the end of the day, no matter who Canelo fights, it's going to be a big event. There's a lot of fights on the table for Canelo. Now they're talking about Sergey Kovalev possibly being next. That would be a huge event, guys. The way they could sell that, Canelo Alvarez jumping up 2 weight classes, becoming the first, not the first, but one of the few handful of boxers, Mexican boxers, becoming a multi-world champion in 4 weight divisions. That fight would be huge. Okay, would it be as big as a Golovkin 3 fight? Not sure. I'm not quite sure if that would be the case. But again, it would still be a big fight. So to be quite honest with you, no matter what Canelo Alvarez does next, whether or not if it's Kovalev, if it's Golovkin, if it's Andre, if it's Callum Smith, it's none of those moves are going to be a bad move. They're all going to be, great, intriguing fights that I believe will do pretty well and garner a lot of attention from the boxing fans. So I don't think that would be a problem at all, in my opinion, for Canelo Alvarez to fight someone else other than Golovkin. And some people don't even really care about the Golovkin fight. They've said that, we've been there, we've done that. Golovkin has basically taken a slide a little bit. He's taken a step back. He's not the same fighter that he once was. So the fight in a lot of people's minds is not as intriguing anymore as the first 2 were. And even my co-host, Eric Lewis, he said the same thing. He doesn't really care about seeing a 3rd fight. I know a lot of other people have said the same thing. Now, I know these guys have history together, and people are saying that now. And then if the fight does get signed, and as the fight closes in, then people become more interested in it, and the fight starts getting a buzz. But at the end of the day, if like I said, if Canelo fights Callum Smith, he fights Andre, if he fights Sergey Kovalev, I don't think anybody's going to complain, and I think it's still going to do comparatively well. Maybe not as well as a Golovkin 3 fight, but possibly I could be wrong there. So Golovkin has shown the ability to garner attention and draw ratings. And DAZN has only released Canelo's fights, the ratings for Canelo's fights, because they know that those numbers are the only ones that have really been great numbers. Those are the numbers that they can really release and show that they're getting subscribers. And Canelo, I think, is a flagship for that. He's been a big reason why DAZN has gotten subscribers recently in these last couple months, which they've really kind of come on strong here. I know a lot of people have been critical about DAZN and how they're losing money and this and that, but it seems like they're starting to really make some ground here in these last couple months. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Joshua Ruiz rematch, if the numbers for that will be released, and if those numbers will be comparable to the Canelo fights, because apparently DAZN has said that the two highest rated viewed events that they have shown and broadcast so far this year have been Canelo fights, and the Joshua fights have been significantly behind that. So once again, Eddie Hearn has a guy like Callum Smith who he would like to one day match against Canelo Alvarez, and he's worked with Golden Boy in the past. So why is he taking shots at a partner? Why is he openly criticizing the negotiations between Canelo and Golovkin when this is a guy, Eddie Hearn, who couldn't get Brooke Khan done, who couldn't get Tevin Farmer, Tank Davis done, who couldn't get Joshua Wilder done, who couldn't get Joshua Fury done, who couldn't get Dillian White, Deontay Wilder done. Like Eddie Hearn knows how hard it is to get these fights put together, and he knows these negotiations can become complicated. He's going through it right now with the WBC. So for him to turn around and take shots at other people and be critical of other people for things that he's guilty of himself, once again epitomizes hypocrisy in the highest form, in my opinion. And this is what aggravates me, because again, why burn bridges? So it's going to be interesting to see who Canelo fights next, and it's going to be interesting to see if this little spat between De La Hoya and Hearn becomes bigger than it is right now. If it grows, if it becomes to be a problem down the road, it can't be good, because these guys have to work together. They're both partners of DAZN. So to take shots at one of your partners, to take shots at a potential promoter that you're going to be working with down the road, it just makes no sense to me. So let me know what you guys think. Are you guys sick of Hearn coming out and being a hypocrite and always taking shots at everybody else and worrying about what everyone else is doing, and then turns around and says, well, why does everyone care about what we do? If they have nothing nice to say, then why don't they just not say anything at all, when he doesn't practice what he preaches here? So I just found this very ironic. I found this frustrating. I found this, stupid. And I don't understand why he came out and said these things and was critical about this fight not getting made between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin, when he himself has had problems. And let's ask ourselves this: what's going on with this Ruiz Joshua rematch? Because supposedly this was supposed to be announced 2 weeks ago. Supposedly this was everything was agreed upon. Everything was finalized. Everything was going to be finalized within a week's time, and now this has been dragged out. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but again, there has to be something holding this up. There has to be something from the other side, in my opinion. And again, I don't know this, but in my opinion, there has to be something from the other side, Ruiz's side, that is holding up this fight, because apparently these negotiations have not been as cut and dry as Eddie Hearn has indicated that they would be, because nothing has been announced yet, and all that we've heard right now is rumors. So let's see how long this takes to get this Joshua Ruiz fight done. And let's see if this Joshua Ruiz fight does end up getting signed before Canelo signs for a fight with either Golovkin or somebody else. Let's see if Eddie Hearn is right here. I'm curious to see how this whole thing plays out. And I'm curious to see if Canelo Alvarez does go in another direction and decides to fight a Sergey Kovalev. If that Kovalev-Anthony Yarde fight cannot get done too, because Kovalev has a potential fight with Anthony Yarde. And if that can't get done, then this will open the door for a Kovalev-Canelo fight. So I'm just curious to see how this plays out, and I'm sure you guys are too. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments in the chat. Leave your comments at the bottom of this video, and let me know what you think is going to happen next, and let me know if you think Hearn's comments are hurtful or helpful in the situation. And do you think that Hearn should just mind his business and let things play out as he tells everyone else to be patient and wait? Why can't he be patient and wait? He's a promoter. He knows how these things work. He knows the inner workings of how fights get made. He knows how negotiations can be difficult at times. And just because this fight with Canelo's next fight, whether it be Golovkin or anyone else, hasn't been announced right now, at least they're working on it. And I'm sure he's working on the Ruiz-Joshua rematch. But again, his fight hasn't been wrapped up yet either. So he should understand the situation better than anyone. And for him to say what he's saying and act like he's acting, sounds like he's being salty. He's being a hater. He's taking shots. Maybe he's jealous of Canelo. Maybe he's jealous of Golden Boy because they are the face of the zone and not him and not Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua was supposed to be this superstar. And of course he is a superstar, but he was supposed to end up becoming bigger and bigger and becoming the face of the zone. Hasn't happened yet. And the only fight that was really going to propel Anthony Joshua ahead of Canelo, in my opinion, was the Deontay Wilder fight. But that has been put on the back burner, and that's not going to happen for a while, if at all, pending upon what the result of this Anthony Joshua-Andy Ruiz rematch is. So, once again, let me know what you guys think. That's about all I have for now. Make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast, 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight as we go live, and we will recap the weekend's fights and call in, interact with us in the chat, ask us any questions you want, and I'm sure that we'll be able to answer you. Until next time, Beaver's out. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. Peace and take care.